Senate, U.S. Senate seat to go up against Susan Collins, the longtime Maine senator, who's Republican. He's a Democrat, but he's also a left-wing Democratic socialist. Bernie's endorsed him. AOC's endorsed him. Ro Khanna's endorsed him. The entire Democratic Party went out and they found him and they said, this is our guy. Well, he's had a lot of issues since he's been in the campaign. Well, boy, where do I start? He has a Totenkopf tattoo. I did not know what the Totenkopf tattoo was until I found out about it thanks to Graham Platner. It's a tattoo of a death head tattoo that concentration guards had during World War II in Nazi Germany. And he had one on his chest forever. They covered it up, but that wasn't enough to have Democrats go, let me back off on this guy for just a little bit. Then he had a bunch of writings where he's a Marine vet, but he had some very disparaging things to say about other servicemen. But that wasn't enough to disqualify him from the Democrats. Then he had some odd things he liked to do in a portalet, and I'll just leave it at that. And that wasn't enough to disqualify him. And then women came out and said, well, you know what? He was getting a hold of me, texting me. That wasn't enough to put him out of the Democrats' doghouse, to put him in the Democrat doghouse to get them to not endorse them. In fact, the more you found out about this guy, the more Democrats rallied to endorse him because he was going to be their guy. He was going to help deliver the Senate to them. And they were going to get rid of Susan Collins, and they were going to get rid of the Republicans, and they were going to take over the Senate. And then charges came out that said, hey, listen, he's not been the best boyfriend, and he manhandled a bunch of women and was rather intimidating. That wasn't enough. Then one came out and said he had fantasies about if someone broke into his house that he would, quote unquote, rape them. That wasn't enough to have the Democrats say no to this guy. Then reports came out that one of his girlfriends said he locked her in a bedroom overnight. That wasn't enough. Another one said that he grabbed her and pinned her arm behind her back and pushed her around, put her hands on him. That wasn't enough. And now charges came out that he forced himself upon one of his exes. And she said the only reason I came out to say this, and she did an interview with Jake Tapper and sat down for other interviews, is because all these other accusations I thought would be enough to have the American people in the Democratic Party figure out that this is not a good guy. This is not somebody we want to send to the U.S. Senate. So I'm going to put myself out there in public and talk about something incredibly personal, because evidently all these other things that I just listed were not enough to derail his campaign, which the Democrats were all in to send him to the U.S. Senate. So what's going on here? I want to tell you two things that are going on here. Number one, you remember when the Democrats had their autopsy on the last presidential election that Trump beat Harris and Biden? They couldn't figure out what happened. Then they did this big autopsy. What happened to them? And they wouldn't release it. And everybody's like, well, why won't you release? Tell us what's going on. Well, some of the things they found in there were the Democratic Party has been such a turnoff for men because they've either called this toxic masculinity, called us out for toxic masculinity, or they've said that, real men and they want to go find the bros that voted for Donald Trump. So we're going to find more rugged men. We tried with Tim Walz. That didn't work. Let's get someone like Graham Platner. He's Maine. He's an outdoorsman. He's an oysterman. He looks like what we think a Republican would look like. So let's go find him. Let's put him up. We'll have him run for office. Okay. How can I tell you that I've kind of got some information to back that up, or just a little factoid to back that up? It's the view of the world of the Democratic Party. So one of the books that I've talked about, and we had the authors on when I first came on the air here, was by a guy named Jonathan Allen and his writing partner, Amy Parnes. And they wrote some books, and they wrote a series of books about elections. And we had them come on and talk about their book, Fight, which chronicled in depth inside what happened between Biden, Harris, and Trump. And when you read the book, and it's got a lot of first person stories of what the Republicans were thinking about, what the Democrats were thinking about, and how they acted to get through the last campaign. And as I read it and I reread it and I reread it, you find little tells, little pieces of the scouting report. I always tell you that I look at things, I look for a scouting report to find one little thing that unlocks the whole key for me. And this is what unlocks the whole key for me. Do you remember when Donald Trump went on the Joe Rogan podcast and everybody goes, that's the greatest thing he did? And that's going to help him talk to all the people, the real people out there, the regular people like you and I. Kamala Harris was trying to get on that same podcast, but the Trump campaign outfoxed her and got to Rogan first and actually left her sitting there with egg on her face because she had actually scheduled a trip down to Texas, down to Texas, ostensibly to go on the Joe Rogan podcast. But when Rogan when they got the rug pulled out from underneath her, she was stuck down there, and she did an appearance with Beyonce where Beyonce wouldn't sing. She only stood up there and talked, and she wouldn't do anything else. And it was kind of a big deal during the campaign. Why are you down here in Texas? Why did you promise that Beyonce was going to come sing for all these people? Then she shows up, she doesn't perform, and people are upset. Because remember, the Harris campaign would bring in all of these entertainers, and that's how they would get these huge crowds for the rallies. And then she'd come out and speak afterwards. But one of them was, hey, Beyonce is going to perform. All these people show up to see Beyonce. Beyonce doesn't perform. Harris is standing there giving a speech. People are getting mad. They leave early. Well, the reason she was in that spot is because they had scheduled her to come down to Texas to be on the Joe Rogan podcast, but Donald Trump got in that podcast and said she was stuck with nothing else to do. Now, I tell you all this as background for a story, because when the Democratic operatives were trying to negotiate with the Joe Rogan camp, they were afraid what they were going to find. They said in the book, and I'm paraphrasing the book here, we're going to find a bunch of steroid Neanderthals. And when they showed up to start having these conversations about booking the vice president, they were surprised. Oh, they seem more like Hollywood agents than we thought, roided up UFC guys. See, the elite of the Democratic Party look at a lot of us. They look at you. They look at me. We like going to Cracker Barrel. We drive trucks. We like country music. We love football. We love college football, a lot of those things. And they look down their nose at us and they just don't get it. So they look at us as a caricature and they go, okay, how can I find a caricature of what those meatheads look like? Oh, Graham Platner looks like one of those meatheads. Let's put him in there and have him run for office. Okay, he's got a lot of bad things. Well, that's okay as long as he's going to help us win. Which brings me to my second point. I want you to recognize something. There is a new playbook for the Democratic Party. I will do whatever it takes to have power. I will do whatever it takes to win. I will run someone who cannot mentally do the job anymore, like being president of the United States, until it comes to a point where his poll numbers are so bad that I dump him and replace him with somebody else. You remember the Democrats telling us that Joe Biden was on top of everything. He was running circles around everybody. We saw him fall down. No, that's not it. We saw him tumble down the stairs. That's not it. We saw him wandering off. No, you don't know what you're talking about. Those are cheap fakes. Until it got to the point where you couldn't hide it anymore. And all of a sudden, boom, let's ditch him, even though the people voted for him in the primaries. We're going to replace him anyway and stick someone else out there because we just care about winning. Sound familiar? Because you're seeing the same playbook right now with Graham Platner. Oh, this is a guy that all these troubles and all these issues, but we still think he can win, until they got to the point they looked at the poll numbers and go, he can't win. Oh, okay, well, now let's all turn on him. Does that tell me that you're looking for people with character, or you're standing on principles? Or does it show the world that all you care about is power and taking back over the Senate? You would actually run anybody you could if you're a Democrat, it looks like, as long as they can win. You don't care about their character or their ability to do the job. You just care about the number. Example 1, Joe Biden. Example 2, Graham Platner. I want your reaction. Number for you to join us, 833-804-1140 on the James River Air Text line, 833-804-1140. We'll take your best text messages, read them. Do the Democrats care about governing, or do they just care about power? To me, if I read the tea leaves and I look at this playbook, it seems like it's all about power. 833-804-1140. Comment on the James River Air Text line. We read the best ones at 655, 755, 855, 933. We drop all the rules. We go to the experiment and take your telephone calls. All right, today's program is brought to you by our friend Michael Greer of GreerFinancialGroup.com.